At long last, the phone call happened. President Joe Biden spoke with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the phone yesterday after a 4-week wait, and countless questions about if Biden was intentionally snubbing Netanyahu, possibly for political reasons or personal reasons. It was a non-story, a non-phone call, heard around the world. During the call, though, the two leaders discussed the Iranian nuclear threat, recent peace deals between Israel and Arab states, and the COVID-19 pandemic. The conversation lasted an hour. Netanyahu was the first Middle Eastern leader to get a call from Biden, but just the 12th world leader overall. With us now is Dr. Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Sir, so in the end, it took 4 weeks for Biden to ring Bibi, but in the end, the phone call did happen. So does that delay really matter?
I think it mattered. I think there was a message in it. And there's a message in the fact that Israel wasn't listed among America's primary allies in the world. We're an ally, but we're an ally in the Middle East, not on the global stage. But having said that, the conversation lasted an hour. And I want to tell you that in diplomacy, that's a very, very long conversation. These two individuals have known each other for 40 years, so it wasn't about small talk, right? It wasn't about, how's your family doing? It was substantive. And it was substantive, as you mentioned, about the Iran issue, about the Palestinian issue, though the Prime Minister's statement did not mention the Palestinian issue for obvious reasons, because of the elections and the challenges to Netanyahu from right-wing parties, about COVID. That's certainly a congratulation about COVID. But I think the major issue was the intention and indeed commitment of the Biden administration to renew the 2015 Iranian nuclear deal.
Yeah, I want to dive deeper into something here that you brought up. I mean, both leaders, they spoke on the phone for an hour, then they each gave a readout, which is standard when world leaders talk to each other. And if you read between the tea leaves, there's a difference. Netanyahu and Biden's readout, there are some differences. As you mentioned, Biden's statement specifically mentioned that the two discussed peace between Israel and the Palestinians. This was an hour-long phone call. It might likely have been a lengthy part of that dialogue. But Netanyahu's readout doesn't mention the Palestinian conversation at all or the peace process. What do you make of that difference?
Well, again, it's obvious that Netanyahu's in the middle of an election. He's facing challenges from two major right-wing parties, Gideon Sa'ar and Naftali Bennett, and he doesn't want to talk about the Palestinian issue. But believe me, for a conversation that went on for 1 hour with this administration, it would be absurd to think that the Palestinian issue wasn't mentioned. And if I were a betting man, I would say that the message from the president to the prime minister was, don't rock the boat. Maybe Abu Mazen and the Palestinians are not in a position to re-enter negotiations right now, but we won't want to see any major changes on the ground, no major building projects in what the administration would call the West Bank, in East Jerusalem, maintain the status quo.
I want to ask about kind of the personal touch here from your past experience, as a diplomat and an ambassador. I mean, both Biden and Netanyahu are longtime politicians. They know each other well. Biden in the past has said about Netanyahu, I don't agree with anything the guy says, but I love him to death. He's a great guy. Netanyahu often talks about their long-standing personal friendship that goes back almost 40 years. So when they get on the phone, right, for the first time, how do they talk about each other's wives and kids? How much time is a personal affectation, and how much time is straight to business?
I think it's very short. I think it's gone. My experience is that these are world leaders. They've got a lot on their desks, a lot on their dockets to do, and they're not going to spend a lot of time with small talk. It's interesting, if you look at the photograph released by the Prime Minister's office, the Prime Minister is talking on the red phone. That's a secure phone. That's not a public phone, which meant that the conversation was substantive and classified and sensitive. And so, again, I'm sure they discussed the Iran nuclear deal. They probably discussed other regional issues. And I think they got down to the serious business probably very, very quickly.
All right, Dr. Michael Oren, thank you so much, sir, for your time. Great to have you on the program tonight.
Always a pleasure to be with you.